We grew up on mixtapes and neon lights.
Hey there, everybody. We are the GlobeTrotting Trio, ready to be here. My name is Amy, and
I'm Shelley.
Hello, I'm Tammy.
woohoo, we're getting so much better at that. All right, guys, today, what are we going to talk about? I think we should compare. I think Shelley came up with the idea not too long ago. What's the difference between travel back in the 80s and 90s versus now? Is there anything that just totally hits you on the immediately that says, this is the
Yeah,
difference?
it was a special occasion. You dressed in nice clothes. You looked like you were going somewhere special. You didn't show up in your Daisy Duke shorts and pajamas and gym wear. You dressed up. It was
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So one of the things that as my perspective is, well, I started in the airline industry in 1998, and it was a long time. The rule was if you're getting on an airplane and you're an employee, no matter if they know it or not, you had to dress. You could not be in shorts. I don't even think we could have been in jeans. I'm trying to
Shorts
remember,
with
but I don't even think jeans. So you actually had to dress up, not crazy, but dress up that you were going on an airplane. So it was probably maybe 10 years, ago that whole thing changed. Probably 15 now that MJ's 15. But yeah, it's crazy that how things have changed. Yeah, for sure.
I agree. Also, think about it. So I love to cruise, and at no point has anybody ever thrown the ticker tape things at me whenever there was nobody waiting me on either. Okay, that was probably more the love boat, but let's talk about
I mean, yeah,
cruising
that
was
was
a
80s and 90s.
Oh my God, I love
cruising
the
was a
love boat.
lot like flights, though. Nobody went and they were all dressed to the nines. That's what it was. It's almost like it was a showcase,
It was like Easter Sunday going to church. You got out your
Yeah.
best clothes. Like we did the
Exactly.
same thing when we got on planes when we were kids.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And even as a young adult, I still dressed.
Yeah.
And
nice.
who all actually traveled like that? Was it people, just the average people, or was it more people that had money? Was it more the rich people that traveled, or was it more middle class people that traveled? Not very many middle class people jumped on a cruise ship on a consistent basis or got on
No.
planes and went and flew across the
Right.
pond to Europe or anything
Right.
like that, right? It was
Right.
more people that
Right.
were more people that had money, I would think.
Well, and your business travelers, like,
Right.
I mean, look how empty. I can think about how empty the airports were when we did travel during the week. It was all business people. You didn't have all these travelers and vacationers and, I don't know, people moving across the pond, like you said, like it was business travel during the week.
Yeah. Well, if we think about it, we say that the baby boomers
Mhm.
is starting, fueling the growth in the travel industry now. But when they were younger, they didn't travel.
Mm-mm.
So no, I mean, it's truly people, that's how we were taught. You work 40 hours and then you're 40 years, 40 hours, 40 hours, 40 years, and then you retire and travel.
Right.
And that's not how we are now at all.
Oh, no, our whole mindset's completely different.
Yeah.
I was just
Completely.
talking, actually, I don't know, last month sometime, I was talking with one of my athletes about it because her parents are baby boomers and they're selling their business. They have a massive business. It runs throughout the US. You would recognize it if I told you. And especially, I don't know, Amy might. I mean, those of us in the Midwest definitely would. But she's like, my brother doesn't want it. I don't know what's going to happen with it. They don't want the life that my dad had, working for himself and working all of those hours and not being able to take those vacations. But yet, dad didn't want the life that his parents had of working at a company, at a factory, for 40 hours, 50 hours a week for 40 years. They didn't want that. And you see that pendulum, swing back and forth because now we're back to kids that young adults. I say kids because they're my kids' age, but they're young adults. They're like, we don't want to work for somebody for 40 years. So we
Yeah.
just see that constant swing, and it absolutely changes the demographics of travel.
Yeah. That was something whenever I was in education too, that there was a lot of kids that were doing the polar opposite of what their parents did. Parents went to college before, and the kids that I was graduating, they didn't want to go to college. They were going to trade schools and back and
Yep.
forth. So it's almost like we just kind of revisit history every so often, every
Yeah.
generation kind of thing.
Yeah.
We just kind of go from one to the other. So do you think travel then in 20 years will look different than it does right now? Do you think it'll go back to working 40 hours again? Do you
I
think
don't
it's
think
always
that
going to
will
be that
ever
way?
I
happen.
don't think so.
I don't think working the 40 hours for a company is
Mhm.
ever going to go, and not travel is ever going to come back. I actually
No.
think it's going to go the more extreme, that more people are going to be like the three of us
The bleisures, right? The
and,
bleisure
and,
travelers.
and travel 12 to
Right.
15 times a year. That's what I
Yep.
think it's going to happen. It's going to be more of a norm to do what we do now.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. I think
I
you're
like
right.
it. So
Mhm.
even back then, so that was another one of those things that I was thinking about too, was like the different types of travel. Before, the vast majority of us, when we were growing up, we've talked about it before, we did road trips. We were in the
Yeah.
car. We were,
Yep.
laying in the back window or in the floorboard of the back seat, or we were in the back of the station wagon or back of the pickup truck, whatever that was.
Was.
That's what we were doing, hustling down the road to get to our family's house because we were doing
Yep.
those
Family
famcations, right?
vacations.
That's what we called it.
I had a
Um,
CB handle by the time I was 5.
No.
that's
Oh
awesome.
my gosh, I
What
remember
was
that.
it? What
Yeah,
was
what
it?
was it?
Houghton Polly. Now,
Out in Polly.
there's a reason. Houghton Polly. Because so my dad would leave every morning to go to the field. And I'm tiny. Like I said, I had a CB handle by the time I was 5. I'm tiny. My dad would leave in the morning to go to the fields, go to the farm, go meet my grandpa, do whatever they had to do. And I sat at the basement door by our garage pouting. And so because I couldn't go with him, I got so
Yeah.
mad because I couldn't go with him every day. So that became my CB handle, Houghton
No.
Polly, because that's what my
That's
dad would call
Polly.
me, Houghton Polly.
That
Oh,
is so
that's
awesome.
a
If I
great
remember that, I'm
story.
totally going to call you that next time.
I know. I love that
All about whether or
story.
not I
Polly.
remember it, though. That's the hard part. So,
You know what? Here's what's so funny though. I was Poughton Polly, so we had a P thing going. I don't know why. My sister was Pickle Puss.
Oh,
She had a
I would rather have pout and pout.
right.
Polly.
She absolutely loves pickles. And growing up, we lived in this little subdivision in the country that was on a dead end street with this big cul-de-sac. And there's probably 11, 12 houses. Like it's literally just one street. And they would all keep pickles in their refrigerator for my sister because she'd go door to door
Or wanting a pickle. Oh my goodness.
wanting dill pickles. So
Oh,
hers
that's
was Pickle
awesome.
Puss.
That is
Oh my goodness.
hysterical.
Oh,
All right. So, think about travel, like whenever we used to do that and how we were just talking, Andrew and I were just talking about this because we just came back from Branson this week. But how did we used to do it? You used to have to pull out the paper map and you'd have that
oh,
spread
you know
out.
what?
You have to figure out which highways, right?
And
Fabulous.
I actually had a guest. I don't know if we want to name the names, but I had a friend of mine come and spend a couple of days with me. And she laughed. She's from California. And she always called me Mayberry. And she's like, how in the world did you find this place? And she's like, how did you guys even know where to go when when you
Map.
did paper maps? You just don't know. And I'm like, think about it. I don't know how I ever got around.
If I ever
I could
asked for
read paper
directions,
maps
though,
so
because we
well.
all grew up in small towns, whenever I
Yes.
asked for directions, they said, whenever you come up to the farm with the red barn, you take a
Yeah,
left.
turn
And you
Yes.
drive till you see the tree,
Mhm.
then the
Yes.
cows.
Okay, so here's my
Yeah.
question though. Amy, are your country streets are they blocked off in mile squares?
Yes.
Because ours are too. So you could always say, go 3 miles and you'll see this house with this silo, and you'll make a left, and then you'll go,
Uh-huh,
3
uh-huh.
more whatever to the county line. Yeah. Yep.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and it's
So,
so funny. The things that I learned before GPS and everything is, and actually my husband taught me this, is that if the number of the street on one side is an even number and the other one's an odd, you can guarantee that that's going to be all the way down the street. I remember him telling me this. And of course, we've been married 20, well, now together 26 years. I'm like, how in the world did I not know that before he came along? And it was just, and now I don't need anything like that. I just don't, because I do GPS everywhere I go.
uh-huh. Yep,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. But you know
Mhm.
what? The best part of GPS for us over our trip, our driving to Branson and back, is
Uh-huh.
the fact that we could tell whenever there was going to be a slowdown and then we could go around it.
Oh,
So
oh
we
yeah.
actually ended up coming back through Arkansas, Missouri, and then Oklahoma instead of doing just through Missouri all the way back to Oklahoma, just simply
Uh,
because of traffic. And we were able to see that with
traffic. Yeah.
GPS.
Those are, I
Nice.
mean, the advances of
Even
GPS is amazing.
they
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
And it's been huge, even in like the last 10 years. Cause I remember we took all of the kids to Disney for spring break, and we're driving home, and we're going to drive straight through because we're insane like that. 17 hours.
No,
And
thank you.
I remember we get to Georgia, and I'm like, okay, there's an accident, and GPS was a thing, 10 years ago, but it was not like it is now. And
No,
I'm like, all right, we're going to be
No.
sitting here, like, who knows how long, and
Mm.
we're in an area where there really was not much signal. And I'm like, nowadays we go through there still today, and you don't lose a signal at all. But it was get out the old map. I mean, even 10 years ago, I had the Atlas, the US Atlas in the car, and we used that to be able to navigate off the road. I don't even think we own a map anymore.
Oh no. I mean, who
Probably
does?
should, but
so
Yeah.
we
but I
still
also
have, Andrew still has his from whenever he was an
okay,
over-the-road truck driver. So he still has his atlas that he could find. He'd have to dig it out of a box, but he could find it if
he
he
can
needed.
find it. We might have one
That's
in our
hilarious.
basement. I don't know.
That's hilarious.
Yep.
Oh.
So all right, tell me this because we took a lot of pictures over the week and we were talking about whenever we used to before, like so I'm the queen of taking pictures all the time, and I
Mhm.
didn't take hardly any this time at all. It was crazy.
What?
Like I took things for specific stuff. Like if we were when we were on the golf course, I took a few pictures and then I stopped. Then when we went to the museum for Cars Museum, I took pictures of the grandbabies, but then stopped and like just didn't take a whole bunch of pictures. So that was kind of crazy. But think about before
Yeah.
this time we can take pictures, see what we did, and have them
Oh,
immediately.
oh, absolutely. And
Yes.
that is crazy because the example that I have is
Mhm.
25 years ago when Dave and I were in Fiji. I mean, cameras were phones were getting around, and I remember bringing,
Uh-huh.
like the camera, I said, my fingers go up and down. And the amount of photos that I took 25 years ago compared to the photos that I took this time when we went this year in 2025 was just unbelievable. And I know 2000, but can you imagine what it was like in 1980, even if I remember correctly?
Uh-huh.
That we
Uh-uh.
just didn't take enough. We didn't take a lot of
No.
photos.
There was not a lot of
Oh,
photos. And how many
we still
photos did you guys have that had somebody's finger in it?
oh
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, of
I'm
Or if
course.
my
sure
grandmother was ever taking a picture when we were on vacation
when
or visiting or whatever, yes, we had no heads,
heads
none
cut off.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
Whose body was that?
Uh-huh.
Oh my
And
gosh,
those
did we
film,
really wear those things?
yeah, and they
Oh,
only
film
had,
canisters are the best. So you wash them out, and then you'd put your dressing in there, right? So if you had to go to
yes.
work, my mom would put her salad dressing in there, and she'd throw that in her bowl of her salad, and that's what she would take to work. Was a film canister
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Well, I
hysterical.
think Tupperware actually made a Tupperware container that
for
was
film.
named after film canisters.
I think you're
Yeah.
right. I think I remember that. That's
Yeah, because it
hilarious.
was so popular for sure. And and
But
we didn't take that many because it was only 25 or whatever it was that you could take on that film. So
12,
we
24, and 36, it was even numbers.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we always cautioned ourselves, like, oh, we can't take
Uh-huh.
too many of the same thing. And now we're taking 100 things of the
Uh-huh.
same thing. Yeah.
But we were very patient.
Yes.
That was one area of our life that, that this whole instant gratification thing comes in because our phones give us instant gratification. We have that picture and you get to look at it, you can edit it, delete it, say, oh, that's disgusting, take a new one. We didn't have that. We
Yeah.
had to wait anxiously for the film to be developed and
Uh-huh.
go back and pick it up. And then when 1 hour developing came along,
Right.
oh, oh,
That was
and it
awesome.
was at the mall. So you could
Yes.
drop it off, you could go walk the mall and distract yourself for the hour, and you could come back, and then you could see how many pictures you had that had someone's finger in it or the head chopped off.
Yeah. I love it. Somebody's finger and no head.
That is awesome.
That
Awesome.
is.
So
Yes.
how about staying in touch? What did you do?
Oh.
What did you do whenever you were on vacation before? Any thoughts about how you kept in touch with people back at home whenever you were on vacation? I still do it for
Called
my
collect.
grandbabies now.
You call collect and you'd send postcards.
Postcards.
Yeah.
I get postcards
Yeah.
for whenever we're places and I'll mail them. Now I didn't do them whenever we were over in Europe, which I don't know why I should have. That would have been really kind of cool, but I
Yeah.
wasn't quite sure how to do the stuff and the things. So
Yeah. So what I want to do, speaking of postcards, because you see this wall here that I've created, or it's a door actually, I've created a travel thing. So I actually am going to have to start telling my friends to send me a postcard from wherever they travel to, and it's going to go up on my door of postcards.
That's
And I'm
fun.
like, yeah, that's an amazing thing to be able to do. But
absolutely.
I mean, honestly, we were going to send MJ a postcard from Fiji and never did, but I don't think I've sent a postcard in years. I mean, like 30 probably. I mean, I remember sending them to my mom, but that's it. How long has it been for you, Shelley?
Uh, well, I don't know. I mean, I buy them. Like I bought them
But you
for my
don't send
kids
them.
when they were growing up, but we would buy them as like souvenirs and it would go into their photo albums because was a huge scrapbooker as they were growing up. So it would go in there as, part of their scrapbook page. I mean, the last time I
Yeah.
sent one,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
my kids were little. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I still
mine was
buy them
last
though.
year.
Yeah, I was gonna say Amy's was, I mean, it's for the grandbabies. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. That's
That's
fun.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right. So Shelley mentioned collect calls. How many times did you ever do a collect call? I think Shelley mentioned one time whenever she was at the skating rink, they used to call whenever she'd
Yep.
have to say, "We're done," is our name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Like,
We're done. Click.
That's hilarious.
Collect call from We're Done. Will you accept the charges? Nope, I'm on my way.
Ah.
oh, that's so funny. I don't even know if you could do a collect call anymore. Is there? Is there a
Well,
way to
it
do a
has,
collect call? Why would you
yes,
need it?
because the
You can still
prisons,
do 'em.
prisons. That's how they do collect. I mean, you have to do something.
Okay. So, prisoners, I'm done.
Yeah. Seriously, come pick me up.
It's like a whole new meaning. I'm done meaning like you're gonna break out. I'm done meaning
Yeah, I don't
I'm gonna
know.
get in a fight. I've had
don't know.
enough. I'm finally coming
Come
home.
pick
Like,
me
what
up.
does
I
that
don't
mean?
know. I'm done.
That's
All right,
hilarious.
so let's.
I love it.
That's great. That's absolutely great. I love it. All right, so think about hotels and motels and Holiday Inns. There's a whole song about it. But think about the difference between the hotels back whenever we were younger compared to now.
Okay, can we talk about Holiday Inns, please? Can we please talk about Holiday Inns? Oh my goodness. Okay, they had courtyards, like interior courtyards. You would have pool inside, like not closed off in a room down a hall where it's like hot and musty and mildewy, and you're like, oh my gosh, how many people have been in here today? It was in the center of the hotel, and you'd have rooms around the edge of it. And there'd be a little arcade somewhere where you could play Pac-Man and Donkey Kong and oh my, and
Centipede,
Frogger and Paperboy. Do you remember
Galaga.
that game?
My gosh, I love Centipede.
It was
Is there
my
an app for
favorite.
Centipede now? I want to know. I've got to find that out.
You can
Because that's
actually buy a game system, like a big game console at one of
Yeah.
the big box
It has all of them.
stores. That has it's not huge. It's not like the big ones, but it's like a miniature
Like
version of that
tabletop.
that has
Y-
Centipede where it has the roller on there.
Yeah.
I'm not
Oh
saying
my,
that we've stopped and actually played that a couple of times whenever we're shopping, because well,
yeah.
got issues.
There is a arcade game museum about 40 minutes from my house.
Oh, that's fun.
That would be fun,
And you
but do
can
they
still
let
play
you
them.
play it? Because I really want to play Atari. That's really what I want.
I loved Atari. Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah.
But we already talked about that. I mean, I said I watched
Yes.
Headbanger Ball and played Atari. So
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, so what
No.
we were talking about? Oh, hotels. I'm like, wait, what were we talking? So I
hotels.
honestly, I did not stay in a hotel until I was 21, 22 years old. Because we went
Dang.
on fam vacations, or family vacations. Did I say fam
Yeah.
vacations? Family vacations.
Famcations. Yeah.
Famcations. That's how it's supposed to be said. So I didn't stay in a hotel until, later in life.
So one time, actually two times. So one time whenever I was 12, we left and we drove it's when I still lived in Kansas. And we went up to Idaho and then down through California or Arizona, Nevada, all these different places. Nevada, we went through all kinds of stuff and back home. We stayed in hotels that time. And I remember listening to my mom and dad saying whenever they would get some place, because you'd have to drive to a hotel and just pull up
Yeah.
in front of the hotel and walk in
Mhm.
and say, do you
Mhm.
have any rooms and how much is it?
They'd
And I
say no.
remember being in California and my dad walking in and finding out how much the hotel was and coming out and saying, I'm not spending over $100 a night for a hotel room. I'm like, okay, so that was not going to happen.
No.
And
And
now
now I would
that's a
love to pay
norm,
$100 for a hotel room.
right?
It's a norm.
And then one time, whenever my dad took my sister, myself, my sister, and one of our friends took us to Colorado Springs, and we stayed there for a weekend. But that's the only two times we ever stayed in hotels. But think about the kind of hotels they have now versus what they have then.
Right?
Oh, wow.
It's insane.
The-
But
like-
I remember my grandma always telling me, like, this was a big deal for her. She's like, you stay at a hotel, you don't stay at a motel, especially as a young adult. And I would like go visit friends or go out of state or whatever and travel by myself or with one of my kids. And I mean, even when my kids were like teenagers, she's still telling me, when you're traveling with those kids, I hope you're going to a hotel, not a motel. Like I can hear her and her little finger would go. Because
Mhm.
hotels, your room is on the inside and there's a little more security. There's other people, right?
Mhm.
Your motel, you pull up and you're staring at your door and you get out of your car and you walk in. And she's like, don't stay at any motels.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's some pretty decent motels now. I mean,
Well, yeah, because some of them are actually been remodeled and made into, luxury places. But yeah, I could see it though. Yeah.
Think about other types of places that people stay now, though, that they didn't stay before.
Oh, Airbnbs.
Yes.
I mean, like
Houses.
serious, like renting a house, that was unheard of. The only way you stayed in a house is if it was a friend of yours.
Yeah. Yep.
or that family that you just went on that family vacation to go see.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Or think about this, because this is something RVs, people rent out RVs all over the
Yeah.
place now. You can
Yeah.
stay in those. Somebody mentioned once a yurt.
Oh, my daughter just stayed in one just a couple hours northwest of St. Louis. She was there, I don't know, all last week, I think the week before,
Mhm.
week of Memorial. So last week, my weeks are all messed up. Yeah, they stayed in a yurt on the river. They had their own little like bathroom off to the side. It was like a shower room, like a campground shower room, but it was a private one. So each yurt had their own. And then they had this big deck with a hot tub. They had their own hot tub at this place, but it's a yurt. It's like almost like, I don't know,
That's
it's almost like a
glamping. That's
hotel
glamping,
just
right?
outside.
Not
I think I
camping.
want to
glamping.
go. I think I need to go there.
As long
right,
as
let's
that
do it.
toilet flushed, did that toilet flush, or was it like an outdoor, like an outhouse? You don't know.
They had plumbing because they had a shower and
Oh,
everything.
so they
I
would.
mean,
It would be
yeah.
in a flushing toilet.
Yeah. So I draw my line. I have a hard line if it has an outhouse. I
Me
can't
too.
do it.
Ugh.
That brings back some major childhood trauma.
Drama and the smell of the outhouse. Whoa! I just
Put you some essential oils under your nose.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And you just go running in and do the business and run back
Yeah.
out. It'll be
My
fine.
grandmother, they didn't have running water in their house when I was a kid. And I'm trying to think of when she actually moved out of that house. And I think I was probably 8 or 9. And we had to go to an outhouse, and I hated it. I hated it. It was so gross. And
Yeah.
grandmother,
I was always terrified I was going to fall through. That was my trauma. Like I was
Yes.
terrified, and all
because
I
you're
could,
so little.
yeah,
You're so little.
yeah, which is why I
Just
had
be
such
thankful it
bad.
wasn't bedpans that got lowered down on a rope out the window the next morning to be dumped out after you went in it in the night in your bedroom. That would be bad. So we've come a long way, ladies.
We
Yes,
have.
we have.
Man,
Yes,
we
we
just
have.
went off the rail on that one. That was
We
gross.
did. We did. Like I don't even know where to go from there.
Yes.
Let's come back to the types of types of hotels. How about tree houses? Do you guys have tree houses there?
We do, and not very far from my house, about an hour and a half. And they're so gorgeous in the woods, and oh, they're so pretty. And I know Shelly has some in her neck of the woods, right?
We do actually in Southern Illinois. We have quite a few.
Yeah.
I would love to also go and do the igloos. The igloos,
Yes.
like the Northern Lights and all of that, or the underwater. Instead of the overwater bungalows, of course, that's something different that people wouldn't have probably done back in the 80s.
Oh, no.
But the underwater ones, have you seen
Yep.
the underwater ones? Oh, that would be amazing.
I would. That's really moving up on my bucket list. Like that's one of those things that before I die, I would love to be able to experience that.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, and and I'm not a water person. You all know that about me.
What?
And I get like on the water, like on a cruise. Don't get me on a cruise.
Yeah.
But that kind of piques my interest, the underwater thing.
Yeah.
But the only thing I wonder is, do you think I would get motion sickness?
I don't know.
Oh,
So I would actually have to ask somebody that's been there and done it. So when you guys
That's
decide,
an interesting question because there would be so many things swimming around.
right?
Mm-hmm. I wonder if you could get one that you could stay in a room that was and then you just walked out and visited the area where you could see out in the water.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Interesting.
I feel like this is something that we need to test out so we can come back and tell everybody.
Yeah, Amy,
so
Shelley,
here's
go
what
ahead.
my lovely AI generated answer says. While generally considered very stable, especially those built on piles driven into the seabed, it is theoretically possible for a small amount of motion sickness to occur in an underwater bungalow in certain situations.
Okay. No, thank you. Go ahead. Enjoy yourselves. I'll walk through something and be done. Yeah.
There you go.
However, it is generally unlikely, Tammy.
Okay.
They are
So I
designed
don't care if there's
stable and not feel movement.
And I don't care if it's 1.0001% of motion sickness. Once you get motion sickness, you're not doing it because you are sick until you are removed from that situation. So, no.
I gotcha. All right. So we'll go someplace where you can go over the water and Shelly and I will be under the water. And
yes, please.
And we'll send you instant pictures.
Yes.
Of our finger in the lens.
We might just go ahead and put our fingers in the lens and
Just
send
because.
those pictures.
Pictures.
Okay, just to be
Just
facetious.
because. Just
Take
because.
pictures of ourselves without our heads. It'll be great.
Oh my
Yeah,
God. Oh,
silly.
you know, this week, one of us is going to get a photo from the other one.
We might have to post it.
One of the other
Yeah.
ones that has a finger now.
You know, we
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
Facebook group for GlobeTrotting Trio, and I'm thinking that there might be a picture show up in there or
Oh,
something.
yes.
I think
It's
that's a
cut
good
off
idea. We should
pictures.
probably do that. All
Yes.
right, so that is all the things that I had as far as the comparisons between the 80s, 90s, and now. But what was the most fun thing? Is there anything else you could think of, or what was the one that was the most fun for you to think about as the biggest difference?
I loved having to get my tickets in the mail. My airline tickets would come in the mail, and it was that almost like a cardboard feel, and one side was shiny and your name was all on there, and you could look at it for like weeks or months because your tickets are mailed to you and they're waiting for you to go on the flight. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And if you had multiple flights, right, you would tear them off. It was like it was
Yeah.
perforated on the end and it was in a stack, and you'd tear one off for each flight. Oh my gosh. It was the best.
So much
You're
fun.
right. You're right. And you know, when I started in 98 in the airline industry, we still had those paper tickets. So it has literally been over the last 25, 6 years that has happened, that it is gone all e-ticket. So, and I remember, you know, going, how do we reconcile this with these e-tickets, you know? And it was just fun watching the transition for sure.
Yeah, so the first time I flew was in 1999, and they didn't do the e-tickets, but you had to go stop at the counter.
Yeah.
And since then, now you just have to go to the little kiosk.
Yeah.
If you even have to do that. You don't
Right.
have to do that if you've got to check a bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, I mean, it's right there on your phone. That is like
Right.
the craziest thing to me. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everything.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think the difference in flights, I think is the only thing that I truly understood, other than, of course, I like the GPS way better than the maps.
Oh,
I
yeah.
could read a map like nobody's business, but I
Yeah.
really hated having to
Yeah.
do it. And I really like the GPS. I'll use the GPS going from here into the city just so that I can see if there's any slowdowns I need to miss.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite thing, I think. Is there
Yeah.
anything, Tammy, for you other than what you've just said, or?
I think it's because I was not traveling much before my 20s,
Yeah.
is that the whole actually being able to travel more than I ever have, you know, and that it's normal. This is
Yeah.
normal now. You know, it wasn't normal
Yeah.
when we were kids.
No, it was not.
Mm-mm.
It
No,
was
that's
not.
probably my favorite now that we're normal.
All right, guys. So if our audience could give us what is something fun that you think of that was different between the 80s and 90s travel versus now,
Yeah.
that would be absolutely amazing. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are. All right. Let's just go on and say this. I just want to say, first and foremost, thank you for joining us for this episode of our wild and crazy journey. And we would love to hear back from you again next week. All right. Talk to you guys later. Have an amazing day. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Dreams unbroken. Generation X.